I just graduated. Yes. I got my Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design, magna cum laude, from Arizona State University online. And I want to tell you about my experience because it might help some of you out if you're trying to decide if you want to go online or in person or whatever. I also just decided to turn on my washing machine right before I started filming, so I'm gonna just draw while I talk because I think I'm gonna yap a lot, so I don't want you to be bored just looking at my face. So it is July right now. I'm actually working on September's postcard for Patreon, so I guess this is a bit of a sneak peek. I have no idea if I'll finish it today while I'm talking or if I'll even change it up or something. That happens a lot. Sometimes when I'm making my Patreon rewards, I will draw everything in like an hour and make no changes, and sometimes I will work on it for like days and completely scrap it, start all over. We'll just see how we're feeling. I like the direction it's going. See, I'm already yapping. We're not even talking about college. Okay, my hair is dry now. The washer is off. I'm ready to start the video. So I graduated high school in 2019, 7 years ago. I really had no idea what I wanted to do so much, but I knew that I was gonna go to my local community college. So I just kind of looked at what they had to offer, and I thought graphic design sounded fun and it sounded a little bit more practical than just like straight up art. Not that I had considered myself an artist really, but I enjoyed it and I just thought like I wanted to have fun, so fun in a practical way equals graphic design, for me anyway. So I went there for 1.5 semesters in person and I enjoyed it. And then March 2020, we all know what happened. COVID hit. We scrambled to figure out how to get the classes to be online instead of in person. From then on, for the rest of my associate's degree, I was online at home, but it wasn't these curated online classes. It was like these classes were originally in person and our teachers like genuinely had to scramble to figure out how to teach us online remotely. So that was a kind of unique experience. I still felt like I had kind of a relationship with my professors and was really able to get some insight from them about their careers and their design work, and so that was cool. After that, after I got my associates, I took 2 years off. I genuinely wasn't sure if I was going to continue with graphic design. I really enjoyed it. I really did, and I did see like a future for myself, but I wasn't sure if I was actually interested in finishing like a bachelor's degree and going to a university. I didn't know if I was going to have like financial aid to be able to do that. Also, it was coming out of COVID. It was 2021, and so it was still like a thing, and I kind of wanted to get away. Like I had been at home online doing school, working, and I kind of just wanted to do something more exciting, get away. So my friend had gone to a Bible college in England and she had a really great experience, and I thought I wanted to do that too, but I don't want to go to England. And she knew someone who went to a different Bible college in California, so I'm like, okay, sign me up. So I went down to Southern California and I was there for 1.5 years studying the Bible. I wasn't getting any type of degree or certificate or anything. Just got to take whatever class I thought sounded interesting, and I made like the most amazing lifelong friends. I met my husband. At the time we were dating. Really amazing experience. But after 1.5 years, me and my then boyfriend, now husband, we were like, it's time to go back to the real world. Bible college was amazing, but it was kind of I just started like crazy. It was kind of a bubble. We were surrounded by like-minded people, which was really cool, but we just were ready to go back to the real world, get jobs, and like that was really fun, but like let's go live real life, you know what I mean? Like let's go take what we learned and bring it into the real world. So we did that, and I was looking for a job for a little bit, and then I got hired at a certain popular coffee shop, and it just so happened that that coffee shop had a partnership with Arizona State University, where if you work at the shop for a certain amount of hours, you gain eligibility to go to ASU online and have your tuition paid for. So that's what I did. I thought, I guess since it's free, like, let's keep going, let's get this degree. And I think I really do like graphic design. Like, let's keep working towards that and see what happens. That started in June 2023. So I had come back from school. It took a minute to find a job, and then it took a few months to gain the eligibility, and then I started classes June 2023. I thought, since I already had my associate's degree, and since full-time school is like 3, 4, 5 classes, I thought I would be able to do that and finish in like 2 years, 1.5 years. But it turned out that they didn't accept very many of my credits from community college, which was surprising because I kind of thought that was the point of community college to some degree, was like most people go and then they transfer to a university and they finish their bachelor's in 2 years. But they really only accepted like all of my like prerequisite classes, math, science, English, and a couple of the most basic art classes. But I had to do like intro to graphic design history, intro to typography all over again, even though I had already taken those classes at community college. I did end up making a petition for them to accept more of my credits, and what I had to do was like put together a whole portfolio of all the assignments I could gather from community college, all the syllabuses I could find, which was like really hard to find those, my professor's contact information and stuff. So they accepted a few more after that, thankfully, but still not as much as I was hoping. So really felt like a fresh start in a lot of ways. So that was kind of frustrating. And then the other thing I quickly realized is that most of the classes I needed to graduate were actually sequential prerequisites of one another. So I ended up only being able to take like 1 or 2 classes for the majority of the time I was there, because they just weren't allowed to be taken at the same time. And so I'm like, I'm willing to work so much harder and do so many more classes at once, but I just wasn't able to. And so it did end up taking me a full 3 years to finish my degree after I had already done 2 years. So that's why we're here 7 years later with my bachelor's degree. But I did it, and at the end of the day, I got my degree. That's kind of the overall timeline and the general story. But I also want to tell you more of my actual experience, like specifically at ASU, and like the quality of my classes, because I was kind of surprised by my experience. So I will say that my assignments, for the most part, were high quality, challenging exercises where I was stretched as a designer. I was really taught to like take time to brainstorm. I was challenged to do things that I never really knew how to do before, such as like 3D modeling, taking feedback and really creating something that the client would want rather than what I like think is cool or whatever. So the assignments themselves were good and helpful, but I would say that the instruction that I received from my professors and instructors was shockingly low quality. I'd say a couple of them, like genuinely 1 or 2 of my teachers, had created their own like slideshows or created some sort of lecture where they're actually sharing their own insight and their own knowledge for us to like take notes on or to like gain an understanding from them. But the majority of my instructors just assigned videos that are free to view on YouTube. If anything, like that's all I got. Sometimes it was genuinely nothing. Sometimes there was no lesson, just do the assignment. Okay, cool. Like I was saying, the assignments were quality, but I found almost always that the instructions were very, very often very difficult to understand, and genuinely almost every time I did an assignment, I did it wrong and I would have to fix it. And you might be thinking that's a me problem, but it turned out that a lot of other students had the same experience. There would often be announcements from the teacher after we all had like submitted our assignments and be like, oh, it looks like most of you did it wrong. Let's clarify. Okay, well, why didn't we clarify at the beginning? And so I guess I could say like technically what I could have done was every time I looked at a new assignment, I could have typed out what I thought my expectations were. I could have just written an email to my professor saying, this is what you're asking me to do, right? And just wait for them to answer and see if that was true. Then I wouldn't have to be guessing and like redoing stuff. But that's honestly ridiculous to feel like I would have to do. I mean, right? Like, instructions should be clear. And a lot of assignments were accompanied by examples from previous students or something to kind of help us understand how to do it. But so many times the examples weren't quite right, or they didn't follow the same guidelines because maybe the assignment had been tweaked since these examples were created, or they just were like sort of an example of part of the assignment that you're supposed to think about, but they weren't really like the outcome that you're supposed to have. And so that was really confusing because that wasn't noted usually ever. So I'd be like, okay, yeah, here's an example, let me try to follow it and make it my own, and then it ended up being completely wrong. So I was constantly confused, constantly redoing stuff. Also, a lot of our assignments were like bigger projects, especially towards the end of my degree. So we would be starting an assignment, we would get feedback, make changes, submit it again, get feedback, make changes, submit it again. But the feedback often came very late, and I understand like our teachers were so busy, there are hundreds of students that they are trying to deal with, but when I'm getting feedback 6 days after I've submitted an assignment and it's due for revisions in 1 day, I'm not doing anything all week. I have to wait for feedback to fix my assignment. It's just a waste of time, right? It's difficult. It's very difficult. I really wish there was a lot more value gained from my actual teachers' insight and learning about their careers, and kind of like what I was saying about community college. I had a relationship with my teachers. They told us about their own experience. They gave us advice, and I had none of that at ASU. Again, like I could have reached out and asked, and I should have probably, and it would have been worth it, but I shouldn't have had to do that, in my opinion. I also wish there were more connections with other students. We did have some discussions and stuff like that, but we weren't really connecting with each other, which is fine. Like, again, you do kind of get what you put into it, and so I could have reached out, but there just wasn't like encouragement to do that or platform to do that. Also, I wish we would have been asked to do more real world projects. Maybe working with real clients would be really cool. Or if not, maybe just not always making a digital mock-up of everything we made. Maybe they could have just told us to like go to a local print store and like actually create physically the packaging design we made instead of just like making a mock-up or submitting the flat lay. Maybe we could have done some things with our hands and gotten some real world experience, even though we're online. And again, like, yes, I could have done that myself, but we weren't encouraged or asked to do those things. So at the end of the day, like I said, I got my degree. I'm debt-free with no financial burden on myself or my loved ones. I was able to work. I got married while I was in ASU. I traveled a bunch internationally and across the country. I'm an active participant in my community. I started my Patreon. Life is good. Like, I was able to do so much because I wasn't in person living at university doing nothing else. But I will say, like, the quality of my actual education could have been so much better. And I think like I learned just as much, if not more, from just looking stuff up myself, doing my own research on YouTube, going on Reddit, finding like design challenges. I feel like I did not need to go to school to learn any of the things that I learned, but I did have to because that's how you get a degree, unfortunately, and degrees are important to get hired. So currently I'm looking to get hired, by the way. I've been looking for a design job since May. It's now July. I do my own freelance a bit. Of course, I have Patreon. I do sell like stickers and postcards, like old ones from Patreon on my website. If you want to check out my website here. I also have part of my portfolio on my website, and you can look at my rates for freelance work if you're interested in a logo, postcards, business cards, anything that you might need for your business, a menu for your coffee shop, whatever. I want to help you out. You can fill out an inquiry form on my website. It would be so fun. I would love to, like, if I found out that I got to work with somebody who saw my YouTube video, so cool, so cool. But yeah, I am kind of interested in teaching myself more skills that I didn't learn at all in school, but I know that I can learn them online myself. Things like motion graphics, web design, media management, advertising, like all these things that a lot of companies want from a graphic designer anyway, even though that's not really what most graphic designers do. I think I can teach myself, and I kind of want to make a series. Maybe I'll do like teaching myself things that design school didn't teach me, and then you guys can come along with me as I learn. Yeah, I guess hopefully this wasn't like a huge complaint session, and I hope it wasn't discouraging to you either. Like, I can't speak for other colleges, I can't speak for even other degrees at ASU online, but graphic design online at ASU, you might not get out of it what you think you could. You might want to go in person if you want some more like real world connections, real world projects, insight from your professors. But again, like the freedom that I got from it, the ability to do all these other things and live my life and be debt free because of my job, I'm thankful for it. I really am. I'm thankful that I made it through. So hopefully this was helpful, hopefully not discouraging or whatever, but I just had to be honest and I had to share with somebody because I just found it completely not what I thought it was going to be. So thank you so much for listening. I am so excited to keep making videos and keep being more active on social media and things like that. So definitely subscribe if you want to watch me learn how to do things that I should have probably already learned how to do. I think it'll be really fun. I think it'll be silly. I think it'll be hard, but I really want to do it. Also, if you like cute postcards and stickers, I make them every month and I send them out to people's mailboxes every month for just $7. One postcard, one sticker. Shipping is included in that price. It's all over on Patreon, so I guess if you've watched this far, I'll show you the postcard I made for August. So if you're watching this now and it's still July, you can sign up now until the end of July and you will receive the August rewards. So I made this little postcard. It says, "Hello besties." These two castles. I'm just imagining like two cute little princesses, and they live in these castles and their neighbors and their besties on the hills, and it's really cute. I guess I could show you the sticker too. Why not? Let's get crazy. Kind of on the medieval theme here. A little princess unicorn. Like, hello? This is probably the most girliest set I've ever made for Patreon before, and I get worried about that sometimes because I know that there are like dudes subscribed too, but at the end of the day, I'm a girl and this is what I want to design, and it brings me so much joy to like live out kind of my childhood in a way. So you probably don't care, but anyways, so cute. So I'm sending those in August for anyone who is an active member through any point in July. I want to send you stuff. I really do. I want the money too. It's just so much fun to like pack up your orders, see all your names, see what city you live in, not in a weird way, but it's like, wow, my art is going here and here and here and here and here every month. It's just so cool. It's so cool. If I could just do this for a living, girl, trust me, I would. But that would take a lot of people to sign up. So if you want to help me with my dreams, go for it. If you don't care, that's fine. But you can at least subscribe, give this a like or whatever. I don't know. This is my second video, so I'm not used to YouTube. But thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around and hearing me out. I will see you next time, I guess. Bye.